US, 7 p.m. It's a very 7:06 precious time with family, but I really wanted to do this. And my guest today, Charlie Moritz, is based in Japan. He's originally from the UK, and he's also a YouTuber. So we really want this conversation to be as honest, as transparent as possible. If you are around tonight, I really hope you drop us some questions. Ask any hard questions. We will take a look. We actually have access to all the comments being sent from YouTube. We can see comments from Facebook and LinkedIn, and we will verbally address them as they come in. If not, after the show, send us comments and we'll try to monitor the thread as well. But welcome, Charlie. I'm so glad you made it.
Yeah, I'm so glad I get to talk to you today, Faye. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And it's 8 o'clock right now in Japan at the moment?
8 a.m., yeah. 8 in the morning. So I think we're about usually half a day or so ahead of you.
Yeah, wow. It's, I used to live on that side of the world and, moved here when I was 17. It feels like it's been more than half a lifetime ago. And it feels so very intimate when I speak with people over there. And tell us a bit about your background, if you don't mind, Charlie. Like, what made you decide to move to Japan on a pretty permanent basis?
It's so long ago. Sometimes I forget, like, why did I actually move to Japan in the first place? But I think I had graduated university in 2010. I had a degree in philosophy and psychology, and I thought, okay, there are no jobs this qualifies me for. And I was working in some sort of like not very fun jobs. I had one job in travel, which was the longest one I had in the UK, because basically it was impossible to find a job after the Lehman crash, and that really affected the UK economy as well. So I just thought, I just need to get out of the UK for a while. I need to go somewhere, have an adventure. And I thought, okay, I'll just go to Japan for a year, and it'll be fun, and then I can come back and get a real job or whatever. And I moved to Japan. I lived in a small town in Fukuoka, which is the westernmost island. And the town was tiny. There were hardly any people there. I think it was 17,000 people or something. It's a little town called Izuka. I was the only foreigner within like 100 miles in any direction. It was crazy. So it was really interesting to have that experience. And I found that I actually really loved teaching. Like, teaching became something that I felt like this really calls to me. And so I switched jobs and I went to Nagoya, which is one of the central cities in Japan. Mm-hmm. And I started teaching kindergarten, and at an international kindergarten. And it was
teaching English, or
what? Yeah, I was teaching. It was an all English environment. So they do a lot of this in Japan, where there will be, especially with maybe more wealthy families, like they really want their kids to start learning English as soon as possible. And so they'll pay for extra things like extra classes. They have this thing here they call it cram school, which is basically like in junior high school and high school, when they have exams, they will prep for those exams, and often those cram schools will have like an English component because they want to make sure that their kids can understand, write, speak English so they can pass the tests. I didn't like the test side of it. I liked the sort of like more social side of it. So I started teaching kindergarten, and I ended up getting a really interesting job at a famous kindergarten in Tokyo called Fuji Yochien. You might have heard of it if you've seen there's a TED talk about it. So the school is a ring, and this the building is it's really cool. It's like trees growing out of the classrooms. It's really an amazing kindergarten, and I worked there for a few years. And recently, and I think around that time was when I started my YouTube channel. It was just something I was doing like casually on the side. I was just like, okay, well, I'll just like make a video and see how it does, because I just bought my first espresso machine. So I made a video about it, and I wasn't thinking like, I'll be a YouTuber, this is gonna be amazing. I didn't like work at it solidly. But what happened was, a few months later, one of my friends pointed out to me, he's like, did you do this video on YouTube? And I was like, how do you know about that? Because I hadn't shared it with anyone. I hadn't like put any effort into it. I just posted it and then like shared it with like, my Facebook a few months before. And he was like, oh, it's really interesting. It was really useful for me. Like when I got my espresso machine, it has like 60,000 views, right? And I was like, what? How is that even possible? I couldn't believe it.
By the way?
Oh, this would have been like 4 years ago or so.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think maybe discovery on YouTube was a little bit easier then. I'm not sure, but
Mm.
yeah. So I was kind of really surprised that it had done so well, and so I started doing a few videos here and there. I still wasn't thinking like I'll be a YouTuber or something. It wasn't until about a year ago that I started taking it seriously because a lot of my videos had gone over 100,000 views, and that initial video now has about 600,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't.
Yeah.
I think at first I didn't really know why. It just kind of confused me that people would want to watch that. But I think I figured it out. So it's really important when it comes to YouTube to think like, what is it that your content is actually hitting? Like, who are you actually talking to?
Right.
And yeah, so for that first video, I realized that it was like a not masterclass. It was like a beginner look at everything fundamental that you need to know to do this one thing. So if you watch that video, if you've never made espresso before and you watch that video, then you will know how to make espresso. And that's it. And it's so simple. Yeah.
On that note, I just want to say it's so true. Even today, after publishing videos on a weekly basis for a year and a half, I realized the beginner videos always get the most views. Like sometimes for us creators, especially if you see yourself as an expert or SME, sometimes you feel like, oh, the market is so saturated, or it doesn't really show my expertise by putting together a beginner's video. And turns out we're always wrong. That my still today Zoom 101 videos and the basic how-tos are getting a lot of views. So you absolutely hit the bullseye right there.
Yeah.
600 views.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that a lot of it's not only like beginner content, because beginner content is really important, but it's content that then you have to think about, does it tell a story? Does it actually have a narrative, like a structure from A to Z? So I found often with my videos, because I'm a teacher and because I started off as a teacher, some of my more recent videos, I kind of had this lecture style, right? Like almost like I was teaching to a classroom. But it's a lot better if you use your filmmaking props, and that's what I'm trying to work on a lot more now, is actually improving my filmmaking so that it's not only just me telling them what they need to know about espresso, but making it interesting and exciting and fun to listen to.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so glad we kind of got right into YouTube content making. And for, for you guys who are hopping on wherever you are, let us know questions during and after the show. I'm very happy to answer them, but we're trying to provide as much value as possible. So one thing that Charlie, if it's possible, like what are some of the, 1, 2, 3 tips that you notice? Like, can we comprehend and kind of communicate in plain English, like how to actually make something interesting from a videography or production, editing perspective, even? Like, what comes to mind?
Interesting. Okay, so I think my first tip is always to focus on what is the story, right? So there's this saying in journalism that says, "Don't bury the lead." Right. So instead, don't like try and hide it, and don't start off all your videos with like, "Thank you so much for watching my video, you guys. Like, can you like and subscribe? Like, it helps me out." Like, a lot of people do that because they think that's what you're supposed to do. But the best thing really is to put up front super valuable stuff so that people have a reason to keep listening to you. So that would be like my number one tip, is like, don't bury the lead. I think also it's really important to, depending on what your niche is, right? So a lot of people, I'm doing espresso. So if I'm talking about espresso and I have like beautiful B-roll footage over the top, then people are going to be much more interested. And actually, like, giving a little bit of space for that as well. It doesn't have to be like go, go, go. You don't have to do those thumbnails with like your face going like, oh, or something like that. You don't have to do that. You really don't. Yeah, it's I know a lot of people do it, but really it's about making an emotional connection with the people who are watching the video, and whether that's through like beautiful video shots of the stuff that you want to talk about, which I think a lot of people, especially for my channel, a lot of people always mention that how much my filmmaking has improved since I started, and they really like it. So yeah, I think those would be two of my tips. I can give you a third if you need it.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna unveil a lot, I'm sure. And Charlie, did you come from any film production background? I mean, before starting your YouTube channel, right? Like, this is something a lot
Zero.
of people don't realize. I personally, yeah, I worked in advertising, I worked in consulting. Sometimes, like, if I were to write a story backward, it's easy for me to point at, oh, I worked on projects. Like I worked on this, Tom Ford sunglasses, and yeah, all those things happen. But I never, other than being a project manager, I was not really in the sort of mood board and trying to understand how things were actually done. I was never really behind the camera either. So it I'm curious, me so much. I love the process of learning how to make a film interesting. And hello there, Ron. So good to have you. Oh my God, this is great. So, was it interesting to you, Charlie, when you began to learn, the production process? Like, which seemed easy versus hard? Because I want people who have never done this to actually hear us out.
Right. So I didn't realize how much of a rabbit hole I was going down when I started this. Filmmaking is hard. It's not. I mean, you can do so much now, especially with some of the new phones that are coming out, like the new iPhones and the new like Galaxy phones. They have amazing cameras, and so I think it's easier now than it's ever been to start. But it is a craft. Like there's a reason why, videographers actually, it's a real job, a real career, because it's a lot of work. So the first video that I did, it kind of embarrasses me now sometimes to look back at it, to think that it's my most viewed video on my channel, but it's slightly out of focus, like for the entire video, which just like now it kind of hurts me. It's like physically painful to look at that. But I think I just thought, how do I make this look nicer? And the first thing I did was I got a nice lens for my camera. So I bought a half decent camera. I got a Lumix GH4, and I like it a lot. And yeah, it's very popular. Like, so I looked up on YouTube, like what are popular cameras for YouTubers, and I got a really nice prime lens, an f1.7 lens. So it gets that really nice bokeh effect in the background. And so really just that alone, like if I can recommend anything for people who are doing content that requires like some like beautiful B-roll footage, like you want to put some footage over the top of you speaking, or you want to take nice videos or photos of something very pretty, then getting a camera lens with like a very low number on the f-stop, you get those beautiful backgrounds that kind of like blur out as they get further away. And for my espresso channel, like that was huge, because a lot of the videos that I did, like I got this I think my second most popular video is one about using a distribution tool, and there were tons of people in the comments saying like, oh my god, I love this section where you shoot the footage of the espresso coming out, and it's like slow motion and it's blurry, and it just like the background's all blurred, and it just looks beautiful. And so a lot of people really liked that. So I thought that was that was a big small thing that was really easy to do.
Oh my God. Well, I love showing comments, and thank you, Ron. It's so true. That first time nobody wants to talk about, right? and it's exactly true. The first podcast episode, the first YouTube video, once you put up there, everybody needs to go through that. For you guys who are watching this, if your first videos were going to be shot on a camera on your phone, so be it. I think be proud. Because I know that when we talk about software or hardware upgrade, it's not always trivial. The cameras, Charlie, I'll talk about my pricing. My camera, which I invested almost, I think a little over a year ago, is a Sony 6400 mirrorless, and the camera body itself is about $900, and the lens is, by the way, is a cheaper lens, is about $400 or so, almost exactly $400.
Yeah.
And to me, that was something, during actually right before the pandemic, I was thinking, okay, that's an investment. And I think, Charlie, your camera and lens combined will be more, right? 2,000 to 3,000 maybe?
Actually, my one, I bought it secondhand. So there's a lot of stuff you can find secondhand. And it was a photographer guy that I met, and he actually, I bought the camera from him, and then I got the lens online. And so in total, the whole thing was about $1,000.
Oh, wow. See, so I think, if this is something that you want to get a little bit serious about, it's true. It's very hard to try to grow a channel on footage that's captured on the webcam or a phone. It's not impossible. I do know people who are very prolific in what they do. They might gain some traction there. But if you are like everybody else, it's just hard to have a camera that's non-professional camera. So not to stop anybody short there, right? So let's, Charlie, let's talk about some of the hard stuff, because sometimes with the energy of this interview, right, we talk about, oh, this is so great, we're growing our channel. The longevity of being a YouTuber is
Yeah.
something I really want to acknowledge, because whether people who are watching this are just starting out, or you're pushing real hard on your, first 30, first 100 subscribers, after you pass the first 100, I mean, you're like, I don't know, you feel like your blood pressure is coming down a bit, but then it's like, oh my God, there's another milestone of 1,000. So I want to talk about just like what it's like. Charlie currently, I looked recently, I think 12,000 or so, maybe more subscribers. I'm also a small YouTuber. I'm about 15K right now, which is a really interesting point. I thought this conversation, we're very kind of comparable in size, very different in terms of topics. And yeah, so it's hard. So Charlie, tell us about when you feel like this content creation process is bringing you down, the numbers are not up. So like, tell us about your true feelings behind what it's really like to be a YouTuber these days.
That's a really great question, especially right now, because I've just kind of gone through a dip. It's been super, super hard. So I actually quit one of my jobs, my teaching job, in March, thinking, okay, so my channel was going up and up and up. It was making almost as much money from YouTube ads and then the affiliate links that I post on there alone. It was making almost enough money to replace my teaching job completely. So I thought, oh, that's awesome. Like I can, and I of course I have other work and stuff. So it wasn't like just jumping straight into a content creator life. But it was a step where I thought, okay, now I don't need to actually travel to a school, 4 times a week to teach. Now I can quit that job and I can have more time to spend on YouTube. And what happened was almost immediately after I started and I quit my job, the numbers started dropping like a stone. I think it went down by 50% in like a month. And like it was really strange because it's mostly from impressions. Like I looked, and you have like these in the YouTube studio, you have all of this data you can check, like the analytics, and literally just it went from maybe nearly 100,000 views in a month to about 60,000.
By the way, when did this happen for you?
This was around end of March, beginning of April, I think.
This year.
Yeah, this year.
This year. Yeah. Actually, it's so funny. Like, again, our channels are very different, but I experienced the exact same thing. I have myself to quote unquote blame a little bit because I did pivot in terms of my content. But for those of you out there, whether you're a podcast or YouTuber, I heard this from more than one person because there are people who, there was huge amount of traffic during the pandemic from people who didn't even know what YouTube was. And all of a sudden, as things begin to open up, in particular in the US, not that all YouTube viewers are American, but definitely there seems to be a bit of a drop. So if that's something you're experiencing, let us know in the comments. I'm kind of just curious if others experience the same, but please continue.
Yeah, so that kind of made me freak out a little bit. And I had hired an editor to help me with editing so I could put out enough content, because editing takes a long time and it's hard work, and it's like that's a whole other job as well. Like that's one of the things about being a YouTuber that's tough, is like you not only have to be good on camera, you also have to understand all of the camera equipment, and you have to be able to script. So that means you have to be able to write, and you have to be able to edit, and you have to like all of the stuff. You have to do marketing for yourself. Like it's like 10 jobs in one.
Yeah,
so
and
it's not easy.
Like posting and thumbnail design, like if you actually do it right, info cards, end card, scripting, adding chapters, researching titles and descriptions. That's something I've been wanting to offload for a while. I've been talking to my VA, Anna, about this. I'm like, I'm serious. I'll make more money and you're doing all the upload for me and research things.
Right. So, and I think it's good to like, when you do have the opportunity to like find people who can help you with things that, especially the things that you don't have a value add or you don't have a passion for. So the editing, I'm not bad at editing, I think, but I wasn't super passionate about it, and it would just be like a little bit of a, oh god, I have to really I have to edit this video today. Like, okay, just suck it up and do it, But I hired an editor to help me with my videos, and I was pumping out a video a week, which was far in excess of what I'd been doing before. I'd been doing like 1, maybe 2 a month, and so and I think what happened was I lost sight of what I was doing this for. I was thinking, okay, what's my next content idea? I need to like plan it on Monday, shoot it on Tuesday, send it to my editor by Wednesday so that she can get it to me by Friday or Saturday, and then I can post it. You know, it was really like it was like step, and I couldn't see the wood for the trees, you know.
Danny totally agrees.
Yeah, exactly. It's and it was crazy. So I ended up a couple weeks ago. It was actually not that long ago that I realized I needed to change something, and I took the time to change. So I was really like I was having a hard time, and so what I did was I told my editor, I'll hire you again in the future, but let's take a break on this for a moment. I need to figure out what exactly am I doing? Who am I exactly doing this for? And I looked over my channel and I looked at some of the competition as well. And I thought, okay, what am I actually doing that's different from what they're doing? Why would someone come to my channel instead of going to, you know, and in the coffee scene, there's a few really big names. There's like James Hoffman, who, you know, he has nearly 1 million subscribers now. And he's kind of like a coffee nerd, and everyone who's into coffee knows who he is. So I was like, what is he doing that's different from what I'm doing? Why would someone choose to listen to me over him when he, you know, he owns a coffee company, he knows so much more than me, like he's much more talented than me, he has all of these skills and all of these, you know, and I was kind of like really down on myself for a little while.
Very easy to do.
Yeah, and I realized so number one is it's not a good idea to compare yourself with other people in terms of your value. It's fine to look at other people and see, okay, what are they doing and how can I learn from this? But what I realized is that actually a lot of people found what I was doing very relatable, because I don't own a coffee company. I'm not a world champion barista. I'm just a guy who has a coffee machine in his house and likes using it and wants to make nice coffees for my friends, you know? And so people, when they look at my channel, that's maybe the kind of people who will look at it, is people who just really love the process of making espresso at home and want to learn more about it from someone who's like them, an amateur, like not a professional.
And what you just said is so important, I think, for people who are watching now or later. It's a great question to ask yourself. And that answer may change, or you might really struggle answering that question, which is, what is my value add? Who is my audience? Who am I really serving in general? And for me, I try to answer that question yesterday. And before I try to go to sleep, I kind of got a little hooked on a video that was also kind of triggering that question for me. And I realized for Feisworld Media right now, there are a lot of tech tutorials, but I'm someone who, you know, basically create these non-intimidating tech tutorials that anybody can watch. And dare I say, even they have fun during and after. And I see these people, including people who are, you know, in their 50s and well into their 60s, some librarians as well. They're watching my video, and then now they're successfully running these, say, Zoom webinars in front of thousands of people. And so it's kind of that energy to pay forward, make them feel supported and comfortable. And, you know, it took me a little while to do that, because I had originally envisioned a different group of people. Mostly I think it's very easy to envision people who are exactly like us, like our background. I don't necessarily mean ethnicity and all that, but it's like about our age, interested in the things that we're interested in. But then I was surprised to realize I was servicing other people who are quite different than me. Like, have you noticed that maybe it's a little bit both, like people like you, and then like this surprising cohort of people that you discovered?
Yeah, I was really surprised that my videos were, it makes sense now, but I was surprised that my videos were much more popular in the United States. I thought, because I'm British, I thought maybe that they would be popular in the UK, but the UK is not one of the most popular places. Actually, more people in America, Canada, Australia. It was almost as many people in Germany for some reason as there were in the UK, which really surprised me. So I thought about it, and I think it's also about having access to espresso machines, right? So Americans are much more likely, especially during the pandemic. I think a lot of people went out because they're like, okay, I can't go to, you know, my local coffee place, but I want to have like nice specialty coffee. So I can buy an espresso machine and make it at home. And so I think that's part of the reason why the channel started to pick up at the beginning of and that's when I started taking it seriously and doing more videos, was around the beginning of the pandemic. And I was stuck at home as well. And I was like, you know, in Japan, it was nowhere near as bad as it was in the United States or in the UK. Like we had some small, short and sharp lockdowns. So I think it was like maybe a month. I think my school, when I was working there, closed in March for a month, and then I think we went online from April, and I think we came back to school in June. So it's like maybe 2 months, and that was tough. Like everyone knows how tough that was, and then we're mostly like back to teaching in person from June last year. And
I didn't realize that.
yeah, I know Americans, like a lot of Americans, like the schools were just closed, especially if you were in the public school system. And in certain states, like I heard a lot of stories about schools just being closed. And what are the kids doing? They're stuck at home. Like this is awful for kids. And I think in Japan they were like, okay, well, it's not affecting kids very badly, so let's let them go to school and we'll be careful. Like we had a lot of procedures we had to do. Like all the windows had to be open, even in summer in Japan, which is crazy hot in summer in Japan. It's like 90% humidity and above. It's like 30 to 40 degrees like every single day. It's 30 degrees at nighttime. It's unbelievable how hot it gets in Japan in summer. So but we were just like, okay, we'll have the windows open, we'll crank the aircon up, and we'll do what we can. But it's important for the kids to be back in school in person. So but apart from when I was teaching at the school, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna put some work into these videos and make this YouTube channel work.
What a great decision, right? And then that's when you actually got serious during these hot summer days and having a full-time job. And what you just described,
having two full-time jobs.
Oh,
I was also doing my marketing business on the side, which is so it's. Yeah, I've been doing marketing for like social media marketing, digital marketing, content creation for a company for a few years now. So I had like 2 full-time jobs plus a YouTube. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, because a lot of people assume that we are doing this full-time. Many of us certainly don't. I still have my consulting clients. I think just as a reflection, Ron said that, trying to figure out the type of content and, who you're serving, that it's the same, it's YouTube, which social media, and blogging. Even for social media, it could be different on every platform. They may be some like overlap, but I look at my audience on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I do think there's overlap, but also people are different. And it's interesting, people don't tend to want to leave the platform, their primary platform, whether as a consumer or as a content creator. So that is really fascinating to figure out. So, okay, this is a productivity question. It comes up like 101 stuff, but people often ask me like, Faye, how the heck do you create? Do you stay productive, to stay motivated? And a lot of people ask me like, do you ever sleep? Which, to answer that question, I do sleep. I actually sleep a lot. Like I sleep on average, I would say like 8 hours solid, sometimes 9. And a day like yesterday, after like a hot day here in Boston, I slept like solid 10 hours. And for me, I'm a total night owl. Like I've been that my whole life. Charlie, on the other hand,
I'm the opposite. Yeah.
total opposite. Oh my God. For me, like if I wake up super early, I am like mentally dead. If I don't get enough sleep, I probably won't have a very productive day. I think that's something to kind of respect your clock, like understand how your body works, as opposed to watching a popular YouTube video and say you should wake up at 4, and just how you train yourself to wake up at 4. Oh my goodness. How do we get here? But sorry.
You're talking about productivity. Yeah.
Productivity. How do you with, actually, I would love for you to kind of get into when you had 2 jobs. One is in education, so that's very demanding and energetic. How did you find time? What was kind of the schedule or calendar you had to consistently release YouTube videos versus today, like where your plays are a little bit more cleared up? Like compare and contrast. I'd love to hear that.
So I actually wasn't very consistent when I started out. And I think a lot of people, they have this like all or nothing approach, which is I've got to post like, once a week, once every other week. I've got to work crazy hard on this if I want to be successful, because, the YouTube algorithms reward people for posting frequently or something. And I think that is true, but it's also a small factor. I think people are mistaking something like the YouTube algorithm for actually doing something that provides value, which is what will get you popular in the first place, right? So I actually I would post a video maybe once a month, or maybe even less, once every 2 months, because I just didn't have time to, like, I'd put together these 10-minute videos or more, and it takes a long time to get all the footage you need, to record yourself, to put everything together. It's really hard. So I basically I did one video a month, and maybe less, until I got to the point where I was thinking this could be something I can do instead of one of my other jobs.
Okay, on that point, what was the trigger that it was at the point of 1,000 subscribers, monetization? Do you recall which point you said, okay, I need to deliver more consistently?
Good question. I think it was when I had a few videos went over 100,000 views, and it's weird how YouTube works like this. Like, it doesn't take much for the YouTube algorithm to like pick up that something's popular, and they'll post it to more people. So it could be a video that you did 6 months ago that got nothing when it went out, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, I don't know, maybe someone posted about it, or maybe like a lot of people started watching through the whole thing because it became more relevant. And so it was really crazy, because some of my videos, like, just went from nothing to like 100,000 views in a few weeks, and I didn't know why. And I was like, okay, let me figure out like what happened. And I would like look at all of the curves and stuff, and then I'd be like, okay, I can make another video about this kind of content. Like one of them, I think I did a video about how to do microphone for latte art. So a lot of people are interested in latte art on YouTube, and they want to see. So that video, I think, got about 50,000 views or so. And I thought, okay, what was that video like? A lot of people were subscribing from that video. And I looked on the video, and there's a part in the middle of the video where I said, you know, and if you're using like oat milk or like almond milk, like if you don't drink dairy, that's fine. I'm going to do another video on how to do milk, like alternative milks for latte art. And so I thought, oh, okay, I just need to make that video. Like, that's all I need to do. And then I made that video, and it completely flopped, and it wasn't popular at all. So, you know, sometimes you're like looking through, and you're like, I don't understand. Like, what? This doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes sense. But really, I think it's like you also need to take the hits with the wins as well. Like, celebrate every win that you get, because that's a really important thing. If you don't, then you don't feel it. I realized this recently, that I got like some videos would go over 100K, and I'd be like, oh, cool, okay, I should work harder. And it's like, no, take 1 second, just stop for a second, like, make yourself a nice drink, and it's like, yay, I did well, you know, I did a good job. And then you can think. But so sometimes it doesn't work. You know, sometimes you make the video you think you were supposed to make, and nobody watches it, and you think, wow, I suck, I'm terrible. And really, I think maybe you, because we were both, the reason we connected was over things like Alt MBA. I think someone recommended you, and I was like, we're Alt MBA people. So I knew immediately that you're going to be cool and you know stuff, because that's just like the community that we have. And I thought, I thought back to some of the lessons from Alt MBA, where it's like, okay, if it didn't work, it's not because, you know, you're a bad person, or it's not because, you know, the algorithms or the people suck or whatever it is. It's like, you just need to, if you find something that serves people the best possible way, then people will come and people will see it. People will learn about it, because that's what people want to do. Like I'm sure you've got some people that you've subscribed to on YouTube, where you're like, I know every single video they upload, as soon as they upload it, like the day they upload it, I'm going to watch that from start to finish. No way I'm missing a single episode, you know? And that's because those people really, like, you know, they work really hard to make sure that what they're doing is the absolute highest quality every single time.
Yeah. You know, we have a few questions, so I definitely want to like put them on screen and have Charlie answer, and maybe I'll add something.
Go for it.
But you know, what's really exciting is during our first conversation, Charlie said something I thought it was so true, which is why are we trying to please the YouTube algorithm? It's a machine, it's a robot. We're trying to make friends, trying to impress. Even people at YouTube don't always know exactly how it works. So never ever let the views alone let you judge. Use that as a single, you know, vanity metrics to make you judge whether you did a good job or not. There are times where honestly I felt like I did a really good job on the video. I enjoy the process so much. Didn't get a bunch of views. You know, celebrate it anyway. So I want people to remember that. Let's have quick kind of like, let's get to some of the questions quickly. Let's see. Maybe we'll do some rapid fire ones because we have more than one coming in here. What made you choose YouTube over Instagram?
So that's a really good question, and that's one that I think I have a good answer to, which is YouTube helps to promote your stuff for you. So Instagram, you really have to do a lot of extra work to try and reach more people. It's very, very high competition, and Instagram actually, because of their model, their ad model, their actual incentives are opposite from what yours are. Yours are, I don't want to pay any money, but I want people to see my stuff. And Instagram's incentive is, I don't want to show people your stuff. I want to show people stuff from people who pay me, right? Mm-hmm. So actually, Instagram organic reach has dropped off a cliff in the last 3 years. I think it was around 2016, 2017, where Facebook really upped the ad model, and Instagram was very quickly behind that because they got bought out by Facebook. Bought by Facebook. But YouTube, on the other hand, they make money when people watch your videos because they get to show ads on your videos. So the more work you do and the more videos you put up, and if they're good, YouTube will be like, okay, this is good, we'll show it to more people. So I think that's why I started on YouTube instead of Instagram, is because YouTube really has our incentives are more aligned on YouTube.
For sure. I would agree with that answer. Also, I love teaching myself. You love teaching. And some of the more intricate stuff that you're trying to teach, let's just say it's not necessarily under a minute or 15 seconds. I just felt like I had the freedom to really address, to really dive deep. Also, I was I would say like a real consumer, real viewer of YouTube. I felt like I learned a lot. I really I wasn't watching a ton of entertainment videos, so I wanted to be a teacher. So people say you want to educate, entertain, or edutain or whatever. So I felt like it's definitely, for me, I'm leaning towards educate more than entertain. But these days I try to do both. So thank you for the great question. Let's get to another question from Denny. Then we can go down the list to go to Ron. What advice do you have for graphic design business owners who are new to YouTube to build a following, possibly?
That's a good question. I think doing stuff that shows people the process. I think showing behind the curtain is a really important thing. And it's really, actually recently, this is a big trend in Japan with restaurants, is they have a window into the kitchen or into the bakehouse or whatever it is. Show people what they're doing behind the scenes. So when you're teaching people stuff on YouTube, I think a lot of people are thinking like, how can I hold something back for my paid service, right? Like, how can I hold something back for that? And I think that's completely it makes sense because people obviously need to be able to make money from what they do. But I think it's the wrong attitude to have especially for our current generation. Basically, I think that's a 20th century position is, what do I hold back for my paid customers? I think it's really important to give people as much as you possibly can and don't hold back. What people will then pay you for, and this is true of my first business, which was a website about Japan, was people will pay you for an experience, right? They'll pay you for access, for personal contact. So if you make a video about everything you need to do to become a graphic design business owner, to make your own graphic design business, like, don't hide the actual information because you're worried that someone might steal it and like steal your position in the market. Like, that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is people will look at it and they'll be like, whoa, you seem like you really know what you're talking about. Can you teach me more? And then maybe they'll want to come to you for a consultation, or maybe you can create a course or something that will help people do that, or maybe you can have some special experience where it's something that you go through together that they can learn from you. But in the first place, like, I don't hide anything, hoping that I'll have a course or something to put out there. Like, and then when I do have a course, it will probably be a combination of all of the things that I've done before with maybe like a little bit of extra information. But that's what happened with my first business. I did a website that was about Japan, and I wrote a book about how to get teaching jobs in Japan. And it was funny because a lot of that book was actually repurposed blog content, right? So I had been writing this blog. I had like 50 or 60 blog posts in the course of a year and a half or so. And I kind of combined a lot of that stuff together. And the book, I obviously wrote a lot of new stuff for the book, a lot of extra content, but the book sold really, really well just because instead of having to scroll through and find a whole bunch of different blog posts that someone's written about it, they could just like read the book and they got everything they needed. So
Yeah, great question. Actually, this came up during one of my presentations at the New York Public Library last week. People were saying, even for podcasting on YouTube, what if you give away everything you know? How do you charge for it? So that's a really good point. And Danny, I would say that if you are a design company or a design company owner, there's so much cool stuff that you could be doing with that, like showing the process. Kind of, I forgot, like, what is that fast-paced video, like the step video? That word escaped me. But there are many different effects. I mean, how cool are these thumbnails you can be putting up on YouTube? Something silly that's you're not really impressed by. Other people want to see the process and how it's done. So thank you for the great question. Let's get to one from Ron, who said, is there the fear that if you change your video schedule, it may change the quality of the content? Like, how much do we need to stand by this? I'm terrible at following my own schedule. I've been changing it pretty frequently. What about you, Charlie?
yeah, there's the fear and the reality. Like I think the quality of my videos, in terms of this is the thing that people maybe don't realize, is that video quality is not the same as content quality. And so I thought my videos were improving in quality because I was being really careful about what kind of B-roll footage I used. I've bought all this stuff, like I've got this boom arm and I've got all this, you can see behind me, like the lighting, and I thought I upped the quality to the max, I improved it a lot, but people don't care about, people do care about filmmaking. Like, that's something that, as your channel gets bigger, you need to start paying more attention to, because people expect the quality to improve. But it's totally okay if some of your first videos, the first video I did, there was no lighting. I was using the onboard camera audio. I didn't even have a microphone, which now I look back, I'm like, oh, I can hear the echo of the room. It's awful. It's so terrible. But what's most important about the quality is that the content is well thought out. I script all of my videos. I tried actually recently. I have this this coffee roaster that a company lent to me to do a video on, and I wanted to make that. I was doing content weekly, and I was like, okay, I need to film this video. How about I just do an outline? And I outlined it, and I sent this to my editor, and she sent me back something that I just felt so deflated looking at it. And it wasn't because the editor does fantastic work. She's amazing. I saw the video and I saw my face. I looked stressed out. I looked like I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't talking about something. And usually, like, if you look at my older videos, I'm like, oh, like this, this coffee thing is so cool. I love this so much. And then you see me talking about this roaster, which I was really actually excited about. I really liked this roaster, but because I had changed my process, because I wanted to get out more content more quickly, it fell flat completely. And I'm actually not going to post it. I'm going to do the whole video again. I'm going to start from scratch, because that was not right for me. So yeah, changing the schedule, like, if you change it intentionally, with intention, you understand what you're doing and you plan for the change, then I think you can do it. You can do weekly. There are some people who do like every few days. I've got a few people in my niche. There's a guy called Charles Edouard in France who does this channel called Coffee to Art. I really like his stuff, and he does videos like frequently, because he just posts up videos of him doing latte art. He doesn't have a big presentation like I do. And so he's posting like every couple of days, and some of his videos have done really well. And I think that's great. Like, this is another thing as well. Like, people look at their competition and they get really upset when other people's videos do well. Like, why aren't my videos doing well? This guy, like, he just does this, and his video is crappy, but everyone loves him for some reason. I can't understand him. That's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. It will completely mess with your brain. And what you should do instead is, and I don't like using the word should, but really this has worked so well for me, is to look at what other people are doing and think, why do people like this? And just go in with a mindset of curiosity. Like, why are people finding this really useful? and then hope for their success, because really it's like a library, right? It's the same thing as Seth Godin says about like the blog or book world. It's a library. It's a bookstore. YouTube is a library. So when other people in your niche do well, then you want to be next to that content with your content. You want to not necessarily do the same things, but if coffee starts being a popular thing on YouTube, then that helps me too. So
yeah, absolutely, exactly. It's not a zero-sum game, as it is you win and I win, you win. I have this idea, I shared this idea with you, and that's why I think both of us fell in love with Seth Godin's teaching and how he plays the long game. So absolutely love it, and I want to respect Charlie's time. I'm gonna pop open another question. And then I do want to talk briefly about sponsorships, if okay, before we wrap up, because Charlie was my guinea pig. I'm super proud of him. I want him to address that right away. Before we talk about money, sponsorship towards the end of this live stream, Charlie's reading this. What's your take on this question? How long does it take to create a video? What's your method last time? Creating a teaching video. So Danny said that, it took a long time, didn't result in many views. And Danny, you're absolutely not alone. I promise you, you're not alone. Charlie, I felt this, and 100 other people I probably know of. So this is very common. Thanks for sharing.
It can take a really long time sometimes. Some of my videos, they write themselves almost. I know what I'm going to talk about in advance. Like I've got enough experience of it that I don't really need to do that much research, because it's something quite simple. And so I think the average video probably takes me 20 to 30 hours. So that might take a couple weeks, maybe like a week or 2 weeks. And sometimes, like when I've been working just on this and doing my digital marketing work on the side, that's been okay. Like I can do a 20-hour, in a week, that's scripting, filming, and editing, and putting all that stuff together, and then putting it up on posting as well. That's another thing too. So I think some of my videos have taken a lot longer. And the reason is because I've been trying to make the quality a lot better. And I think that's okay. So if I work super hard on something and it takes me 50 hours and it doesn't do well, I know it would suck, and I know it feels like crap when you work really hard on something and it doesn't do well. But number one, don't hope that it will get lots of views in the start. Like you can, if it does, then that's great. If it doesn't, that's okay too, because really you've got to focus on the process. You've got to look at what you're doing. The success of what you're doing is posting, not the result that comes up in the end. Because if you focus on that, then you're going to be completely beholden to whether or not a video does well, which is like by that point, it's out of your control.
Yeah, very true. You got to hit post. Thank you for that. And Danny, I have something else to add, which is my video editing and shooting process is very different than Charlie's. It's so artistic. For people who are watching this, definitely check out Charlie's channel. Link again in the description below. And it's very sophisticated, very artistic, and I so admire that. When I first watched it, I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking to this guy. Like he does like video production for a living. And whereas my videos sometimes, yes, some videos take forever to make, but some videos I realize from shooting to editing to upload may just take a few hours. I know a few hours is still like half a day, but for me, I focus on tutorials. So I just remember Danny mentioned graphic design. What if you could create a playlist? So short list of videos on how to use Photoshop, how to use things like Canva, tools that doesn't require you to have a design degree or Photoshop to create to create something beautifully. And I think let's not assume that there are hundreds of Photoshop and design videos out there. People want to see your process, your shortcuts, how you target, how you get things done. So lots of beauty in that for sure. So I'm gonna hide this question. Is it? let me get back there. I love the questions. I feel like this is gold. Is it safe to say that each video is really a test of doing something new to see what turn people on, off?
I don't.
Videos it takes. Yeah.
It can be, and sometimes the video that you least expect will do really well,
Absolutely.
and you don't know why until afterwards, and then afterwards you can break it down and go like, oh, of course, it's because this happened and whatever. Like it's kind of the same with a lot of things, right? But
True,
you
always.
can really prep in advance. You can. So I had a bunch of coffee companies reach out to me and give me free stuff, like coffee cups, mostly coffee cups. And so I thought, okay, I want to do a video about coffee cups. And so I looked on YouTube, like what was there out there on coffee cups, and there wasn't really anything that was really interesting to me. And it took me a little while to think of like, because often when I think of ideas, I think of the title. That's the first thing I think of. What is the actual? Because I write it down on I have like this production list board that I put down all of my ideas on, and I thought of the title for the cups, and I thought, okay, what is it that's really interesting about coffee cups apart from like, okay, they look really nice, you know, like this one looks really great, I love the handle, or it's like, you know, a thick wall or something looks cool, or double walled glasses, which everyone loves now because they're, yeah, right. So it's
Yeah.
like people actually really like that because it's the part of the thing that they touch, and they get to like hold that coffee cup in their hand. So, and I wanted to make that interesting, so I made the title, you're using the wrong coffee cups. And I knew immediately that this was going to do well, and it blew up really quickly. Like it got like 10,000 views in a week.
Oh, wow.
And I was really happy with that because I thought, okay, that was because I kind of figured out like what else was out there. Why are people going to watch this video? Because basically the point was that different sizes of coffee cups make different ratios of coffee to milk, because the espresso size is going to be the same if you're using the same espresso machine, the same filter basket. So if you have a double shot of espresso and you use a big cup, that coffee is going to taste way weaker because it's going to have more milk in it, right? And so if you use the right kind of cups, if you use like I have way too many cups. I have like 30 or 40 cups. I live alone and I have 30 cups. But I have like a flat white cup for my flat whites. I have a latte art cup. I have a like the latte art cups. The one that I use is almost like a bowl because it's huge, because you want to be able to do big latte art designs in there. So that one, the coffee's not going to. It's going to be very weak coffee in comparison to something like a flat white cup, because it's almost double the volume. So yeah, so it's really sometimes it really is just like testing ideas and seeing what hits. But I think you do have to do planning behind the scenes. You do have to think about, how is this helping my audience? You have to think about that in advance. You can't just like throw something out there and hope and pray that it works, because I think you might find that that doesn't work as well as you hope.
Yeah, Ron, I want to just add one more thing to what Charlie said, which was awesome. I completely agree. Is that these days I notice it takes YouTube a little while to pay attention to who you are, because at the end of the day, you know, YouTube doesn't know us the way we know ourselves. You know, I had a conversation with Ron. I feel like I already know so much more about you now, maybe than some sort of algorithm. So make sure that I think about content these days, topics in series. If I want to test something, I'm never ever putting out just one video. I tell myself 3 videos minimum. Even 2 is questionable, right? So I will repeat certain keywords. I'll think about the themes. I'll think about how these videos relate to one another, so that they're not isolated. Oh, just because they're on Squarespace, they're completely, you know, how are they related in a way? Do they build upon each other? If the first, for example, video is about 101, how to, oh, how about I just add some more advanced tips there and kind of warm people up to a topic I'm preparing them for. So you're a facilitator, you're a content creator, and you're kind of bringing people along that journey. Speaking of an experience, which Charlie has been kind of the theme of our conversation here. So bring them on as part of an experience, and some of them will tag along and some people will choose to leave, which is understandable as well. So, you know, my videos took off from all the Zoom tutorials, in particular Zoom for dancers and fitness instructors, but I'm not one. And the longevity and what I'm aiming for really are digital marketing. I want to teach content creators to build a platform and make a living. That's my goal. It's not to beat every feature out of Zoom, but I understand, you know, that there's still so much to learn. So I'm catching my second wind for Zoom these days. I'm getting a lot of good feedback, but I just want to add that and make sure that's clear. We actually hit time, but I do want Charlie to speak to something very, very important, which is a pain point for a lot of small YouTubers to think, I got to wait till I'm big. I got to sit here and wait for the email to come in from a sponsor offering me, you know, some amount of money, huge amount of money. but I gotta wait. And my first conversation with Charlie is like, don't wait, proactively reach out to sponsors now. So could you speak to that experience a bit and what the outcome was like?
Sure. So I do think that monetizing too early can be a really difficult thing, and actually, it's not always advisable. I think it's really important to have a core audience who care about what you're doing first, because if you don't, if you're just like, hey guys, like buy my stuff, buy this, buy that, then people will feel sold to. So I think it's a really delicate thing. It's a really delicate balance. So I started monetizing on the back end by just saying all the links for products in the description below. And I just said that once in a video whenever I had products that were related, and I just did Amazon affiliates. And then I switched up Amazon affiliates as much as possible recently, because Amazon has been giving less and less in terms of percentage for affiliates. Like it's dropped maybe like 80%. So when I first started, I would get maybe 8% for something. So if someone bought an espresso machine, it would be between like 5 and 8%. And so I remember once, like someone bought an espresso machine from a video that I did, and it was something like I made $120 or something, because it's an expensive espresso machine. It's like $120 from one click from a video. That's really useful. Amazing. That's a lot of money for me. And I thought, okay, this is what I need to lean into. And I think affiliates are great as well, because it aligns your incentive with actually helping the companies that you're working with. So when I had companies like giving me coffee cups, giving me, trying to send me like espresso machines and stuff, I'd look at what they were doing, and I would think, okay, if I'm going to do this, it should be something that helps both of us. I don't want to do right now, and I'm not really looking for sponsorship videos where someone says, this video is sponsored by blah, blah, blah. I would prefer to do something like affiliates, because then I know I can find out, okay, is my video actually helping this company to make more money, to sell more products? If not, then why am I thinking it's okay for me to get $1,000 up front for something like that, when I could make more than that on the back end, or maybe not even as much as that on the back end, but actually know that what I'm doing is helping that company. That also then allows you to say, like, this is how much of other people's products I've sold, right? So yeah, I've kind of turned off Amazon and gone to other companies and asked them if they have affiliate stuff. So now in North America, I have a different company that I sell a lot of the stuff through, because they give me a lot higher percentages. And those things are like all in the details. Like it's really important, because the difference between making $90 a month from Amazon affiliates and making $450 a month from other people's affiliates who are like maybe smaller stores, or stores that serve like each region of people that you're talking to. So then you can put in the description, like in Canada, North America, like buy this from this link, and then in the UK and Europe, buy from this link. Yeah, and I think that's a good way to monetize. I like that because it aligns incentives. Like I'm all about incentives. I love economics. I'm kind of a nerd about economics, and I think incentives are super important. If you have perverse incentives, if you're just doing YouTube because you want to make a living as a creator, but you don't actually care about what you're doing, and you don't really care about your audience and helping them, then I think you might be able to find some success. I'm sure you'll be able to make some money, but I think it will stall out. And I think that's actually a part of nature. I think that's a way that the natural world works, is if you don't care about something, if you aren't passionate about it, people can feel that in your videos, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that, Charlie. I will also add that it's true. If you have 50, 100 subscribers, it's true that's going to be hard for anybody to say yes to. I want to sponsor your video. You definitely want to build up an audience slowly. But I would argue, even at 500, 700, as you're approaching around 1,000 subscribers or so, sometimes you actually might get some really interesting feedback. Sometimes there isn't always a direct correlation. Yeah, you have a video with 100,000 views, chances are your channel is going to get monetized pretty quickly between watch time and subscribers. But I've also seen people who are, throwing random videos that are getting really popular without necessarily building up to a monetized channel. So there are a lot of permutations there. With my sponsors who proactively reach out, you can almost instantly tell from their first email, that they've done this before. Like these people are professional. They have watched my video. They know who I am. They're asking to partner with me, and they usually have a price point in mind. Even though nobody's quite sure, if they pay me 500,000, am I really going to drive the number of signups for their company? They don't really know for sure, but they're willing to experiment. So, trust your instinct, but also that comes with practice, which is something that, I kind of put in my latest product, YouTuber kit. So it's just to help people understand the process. And I even share some of the emails, with all the company names, people's names blurred out, but to kind of show you how to go from no sponsor video to sponsor videos to sponsor video series without losing your brand or who you are about. So I can honestly go on about this forever, but I think I have to bring Charlie back for like part 2. This is so interesting to talk about forever. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Charlie, before I let you go, is there anything that comes to mind that's burning that I haven't asked before we conclude?
I think just the main thing for anyone who's listening to this is, if you are interested in doing something like making a living as a content creator, then really I think it's important to just start and then keep going. Don't get caught up in the idea that you have to become like an overnight success. Like it takes a lot of people 10 years to become an overnight success. You see the people who are really popular, and I was really surprised by this. So like one of my favorite creators is a guy called Matt Diavella, and I really like his filmmaking style. I love his filmmaking style, and he's really cool. But he actually had a period where he'd gotten to like 10, 20,000 subscribers, so around the same, like a little bit more than where I'm at now. And he said he was like that for a year. It just didn't change. And then all of a sudden it got picked up. And I think that's
3 million, 3 million now. He's
exactly
huge.
Yeah, and I think that's the story for a lot of people, is that it's very, very rare for someone to just suddenly get picked up by the algorithm and then they're off to the races, right? That's incredibly rare. And I think what you should hope for really is that you can enjoy the process of doing this. Just like make the videos and enjoy making the videos, and if and when you start getting popular, then you can kind of like try to figure out all of the business side of things. But at first, like, you've got to fall in love with the process. Otherwise, why are you even doing this? If you don't love the process, if you're just trying to make money, or you're just trying to make a living as a content creator, like you're gonna hate it. You're gonna really dislike the process, and maybe you'll make some money, but you won't enjoy it. So love the process.
Oh, thank you. What a great message. Fall in love with the process. And finding your niche also means find something that you love doing. If you're not a coffee maker, coffee machine lover, you probably shouldn't start a channel like Charlie just because it seems like a really, profitable idea of some sort. But definitely, I definitely hate the idea of people finding a niche just because it's popular, or you feel like it's guaranteed money making machine. You have to also be in love with your niche. And how to pivot as needed. So maybe that's another great topic. But oh my God, I used up so much of your Charlie. I know it's still early in Japan, and please, for anybody who's watching this, come check out Charlie's channel. And I think you guys will not regret it. And it's so yummy and delicious and so relaxing, especially if you're having a rough day where it's Sunday. Then you do not look forward to tomorrow for whatever reason. But I know that's a thing in here, which is like, oh, Sunday's so tough, but it's very relaxing. Thank you so much for being here, Charlie. I really appreciate it, and hope you'll come back.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It was really fun.